Here's a question for you. What if every thought, every action, every single mood you experience isn't entirely your own? What if it's influenced by unseen, well, underlying forces?
That's a fascinating place to start.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita. It's known as the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga.
Which basically translates to the yoga of the three modes of nature. It's quite a powerful concept.
Exactly. And our mission here is really to pull out the core insights from this ancient wisdom. Think of it as a shortcut to understanding what holds us back.
And crucially, how to find a path to, well, freedom. We'll be exploring these ideas of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, which are central to this chapter.
Okay, so let's jump right in. What exactly are these gunas? It sounds fundamental.
It really is. The Gita itself, verse 14.5, puts it very clearly. It says, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, the modes born of nature, bind the soul to the body.
Bind the soul to the body. Wow.
Yes, it's addressed to Arjuna, the warrior prince, receiving this wisdom from Lord Krishna. So these aren't just, abstract concepts. They're described as active forces.
Forces that actually bind us. So could you break down those three terms? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas.
Sure. You can think of them roughly as purity, passion, and ignorance. Or maybe goodness, activity, and inertia. They're like these underlying qualities or energies of nature itself.
And they influence everything we do. Silently.
Pretty much everything, yeah.
Yeah.
From your big life choices down to, how you react to traffic, they're constantly operating in the background.
So recognizing them is key then. That's the first step towards freedom.
Absolutely. You can't really navigate something if you don't even know it's there, right? Understanding the gunas is step one.
It's perfect sense. It's like turning on the lights. Okay, let's illuminate the first one. Sattva. This is often called the mode of goodness. Sounds positive.
It generally is, yes.
Yeah.
Verse 14.6 says, Sattva is pure and illuminating. It binds one through attachment to happiness and knowledge.
Okay, pure and illuminating. So when we feel like calm, clear-headed, balanced, that's sattva.
That's the feeling, exactly. Inner peace, clarity, maybe a sense of intellectual understanding or satisfaction. It feels good.
But wait, you said it binds through attachment to happiness and knowledge. How can goodness bind you? That seems counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's one of the really profound points here. While sattva brings all these positive qualities, the attachment itself can become a subtle trap.
Ah, trap. How so?
Well, you might become so attached to feeling peaceful or to the identity of being knowledgeable or good that you resist anything that disturbs that state.
Ah, I see. Like being in a comfortable cage, maybe?
That's a great analogy. A gilded cage, perhaps? You're comfortable, maybe even feel enlightened, but you're still limited by that need for everything to be pleasant or confirming.
So the attachment to the state of happiness is the binding factor.
Precisely. True liberation isn't necessarily about being blissed out 24/7, but about being free from the compulsion to feel a certain way, even if that way is good.
That's deep. Okay, so even goodness has its subtle edges. Now what about the opposite end, or maybe just a different energy? What about rajas, the mode of passion?
Right, Rajas. Verse 14.7 nails it. Rajas is born of desire and attachment. It binds the soul through attachment to action and results.
Desire and attachment to action and results. So how does this show up in everyday life? What's the feeling?
Think restlessness, ambition, that constant urge to do something, to achieve, to get somewhere. It's that engine that drives a lot of activity in the world.
Okay, so it's the go-getter energy, always needing to be productive.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And it's fueled by desire for success, for recognition, for possessions, for experiences, and importantly, attachment to the outcomes of your actions.
Ah, the results. So it's not just doing, but needing a specific result from the doing.
Exactly. The trap here is that constant chase. It can lead to a lot of stress, right? Because you're always reaching for the next thing, never quite satisfied with where you are or what you have.
I think most people can relate to that feeling, that pressure. It's like your worth gets tied up in what you accomplish next.
That's a very common manifestation, yes. The underlying anxiety of not enough. It can be exhausting, always pushing, always striving, often leading to burnout, or just a constant sense of dissatisfaction.
So freedom from rajas isn't about becoming lazy, but maybe finding contentment within the action itself, not just in the reward.
That's a great way to put it. And recognizing when that drive becomes excessive, when doing tips into overdoing, driven by that restless need.
Okay. So we have the clarity of sattva, the drive of rajas. What about the third one, tamas, the mode of ignorance? This one sounds, well, heavy.
It's often associated with heaviness, yes. Verse 14.8 explains, Tamas is born of ignorance. It deludes all living beings, binding them through carelessness, laziness, and sleep.
Ignorance, carelessness, laziness, sleep. So what does tamas look like practically? Is it just feeling tired or unmotivated?
It can be, but it's deeper than just physical tiredness. Think confusion, inertia, delusion. It's that feeling of being stuck, maybe fearful, unable to see things clearly.
Like being bogged down, a kind of mental fog.
Exactly. It's the energy that pulls downward, resists change, obscures understanding. It can manifest as procrastination, apathy, clinging to negative patterns, or just a general dullness.
So it's not just physical laziness, but a kind of mental or spiritual inertia, too.
Very much so. It keeps us in the dark, metaphorically speaking. It prevents clarity, prevents action, prevents growth. When you feel utterly stuck and resistant to moving forward, tamas is likely quite strong.
Okay, these three modes, sattva, rajas, tamas, seem quite distinct. But people aren't just one of these all the time, are they?
Not at all. That's a crucial point. The Gita highlights their dynamic nature. Verse 14.10 says something like, sometimes sattva dominates, overcoming rajas and tamas. At other times, rajas dominates or tamas dominates. They're constantly vying for influence.
Ah, so it's like an internal battle. Or maybe a dance.
Dance is a good word for it. Think about your own experience. One moment you might feel clear and peaceful, sattva's up.
Right. Then maybe you get an annoying email.
And suddenly you're agitated, maybe planning a sharp reply, rajas kicks in.
Or maybe it's late afternoon, you had a big lunch.
And boom, tamas hits.
Yeah.
You feel sluggish, unfocused, just want to zone out.
Okay, yeah. That makes total sense. It's like our internal weather is always shifting based on which guna is currently strongest.
Precisely. It's this constant interplay, this dynamic dance within us. And understanding this shiftiness is really important so you don't get completely identified with whatever state you happen to be in.
Which brings up the next big question. If these modes are always shifting and influencing us, is it actually possible to get beyond them? Who manages to rise above this constant push and pull?
The Gita definitely says it's possible. It describes the qualities of someone who has transcended the gunas, particularly in verses 14.22 through 25.
And what does that look like? What are those qualities?
Well, such a person isn't easily disturbed. Whether good things happen or bad things happen, pleasure or pain, they remain steady, kind of balanced.
So not thrown off course by highs and lows.
Exactly. They see success and failure with a certain equanimity. They act, but with a sense of detachment from the fruits of their actions. They aren't swayed by praise or criticism.
That sounds like a very stable place to be. And it mentioned devotion.
Yes, devotion is highlighted as a key quality. Underlying all this is a profound inner freedom.
So the insight is that even though the gunas affect the body and mind, creating moods, energy levels, thoughts, our true self, the soul, can witness it all without getting entangled.
That's the core of it. The soul, the observer within, has the capacity to watch this play of nature, this dance of the gunas, without being completely swept away or defined by it. That ability to observe without reacting is the freedom.
Okay, that's the goal then. Transcendence, being the observer, not the puppet of the gunas. So how? What's the path? How do we actually do that?
The Gita gives a very direct answer in verse 14.26. It says, he who worships me with unwavering devotion rises above the three modes and reaches Brahman.
Worships me with unwavering devotion. So me referring to the divine, to Krishna in this context.
Yes, referring to the supreme reality, the divine presence. So the path recommended here is bhakti, the path of devotion.
Bhakti, devotion. So it's not about trying to intellectually suppress rajas or forcefully cultivate sattva.
Not primarily, no.
Yeah.
While self-awareness and conscious choices matter, the ultimate key offered here is this loving connection, this unwavering devotion to something higher than the modes themselves.
It's like finding an anchor point outside the storm of the gunas.
That's a beautiful way to put it. This love, this devotion to the divine, or Brahman, the ultimate consciousness, acts as that anchor. It lifts you, allows you to transcend these natural pulls and pushes of sattva, rajas, and tamas. It's presented as a transformative power that goes beyond just managing the modes.
Wow. That shifts the perspective quite a bit. It's less about fighting nature and more about connecting to something beyond it.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's try to bring this all together then. A key takeaway seems to be these moods, these reactions, these states of being driven or stuck, they aren't your fundamental identity.
Correct. You are the observer, the soul described as eternal and inherently free.
And the gunas are the forces acting upon your mind and body. We could summarize maybe. Sattva tends to uplift and illuminate.
Right, while Rajas agitates, drives, and often creates restlessness.
And Tamas binds, obscures, and pulls downward into inertia.
Those are the basic tendencies, yes. Powerful forces constantly at play.
But as the Gita points out, devotion liberates.
That's the ultimate path offered for transcendence.
So for everyone listening, maybe take a moment to reflect, considering what we've talked about. Which of these modes, sattva, rajas, tamas, do you feel tends to dominate your own experience day to day?
And just thinking about that, how might understanding these unseen influences begin to shift your perspective on your own thoughts, feelings, and actions?
Something to definitely reflect on.